This is really cool. We have Mike Weaver from Big Daddy Weave. And at the beginning of the year, I had done a poll asking people who they wanted to see as the first artist interview on our show. And Mike from Big Daddy Weave was overwhelmingly the winner. And I do think that it's partly because people wanted to hear how you were doing and how you were processing the loss of your brother, Jay. So, dude, I really, really, really appreciate you taking time to be on with us.
Oh man, dude, it's great to see your face. It's great to have this little chat together, man. It's been too long, man, since I saw you, buddy.
Yeah, it has been, man. So how are you and your family doing? Because that's like the number one question I know people want to know, because when they watch you walk through something, like, people love you and they care about you because you've been in their lives too.
Wow, man. That's so kind. I mean, that they would even care, it's amazing. We've been overwhelmed by the response of people, man, and just the messages and all of the sweet things that have just come in the midst of this. But it's like anybody, I mean, dude, we're just hurting, man.
Yeah.
It hurts really bad. The last handful of years have kind of been that for our family. Like, my dad passed on like Christmas Day of 2017. My mom just hurting over that, but still hoping, you know what I mean? She went to be with the Lord last May. Of course, both of them had seen Jay, go through so much, being a double amputee, all of that stuff. His health journey had just been such an uphill battle, man, but he had such a good attitude through all of it. He had just been such a strong, person in all of our lives. Even, it was crazy because we're trying to help him, but like, he's somehow, helping us, and so it was it was a shock to us that on January 2nd that he went to be with the Lord. We just felt like we had more time than that, but it was a complication due to COVID. And at first I was like, God, after he's been through so much, like, this is the thing that it happens with. And it was just like, but then I really felt like the Lord just began to uncover some things to me just about maybe what Jay wanted a little bit too, because, people had prayed for Jay so much after him kind of being this survivor of, whatever was going on in his body. It's like diabetes plus this thing that the docs could like never figure out, And so when, people didn't see like kind of the decline there, and man, he was fighting battles. And I mean, he was doing it. He had been on like dialysis on the tour bus, his kidneys were failing, and man, he'd started losing like fingers, man. It was difficult. Like, it was painful for him to try to play bass, and like midway through last year he had to come off the road. That was like the hardest decision that he had ever made, and I saw that hurt him worse than anything. And then so he just became super involved in his church though, and as he was pouring out there, he's still trying to do everything he can. He put a new sound system in the little church that we grew up in. His family still was attending there, and still does attend there now, and it's crazy. I came down to kind of help christen the sound system.
Nice.
And I got to lead worship there. But when I saw him last October, Wally, man, he was really hurting bad, and I had this weird sense, that there was just kind of this feeling like, I don't know how much longer we have with him.
Yeah.
And then when this happened, I really believe him going home was kind of Jesus honoring some things and some requests I think that he had made, because I'd heard him ask the Lord before. He's like, God, if you're not going to heal me here, then will you take me before it gets to some place that, that kind of crosses some lines, man. And
that's a hard prayer to pray,
It is. It's so, but I know how kind God is to you, and the whole thing is hard and the whole thing hurts. But I really think Jesus like honored some of Jay's requests.
See, that's a healthy perspective that
crazy.
I don't know that everybody can have inside of that. And I think that's kind of why we're having this conversation too, because a lot of people are hurting that have lost people. They look at you guys and, and how do you handle it? And what do you say? Because it kind of gives them hope too, and I think people are always afraid to talk about someone that's passed away, and because they don't want to hurt you more, and like and so it's out of a place of kindness. But if you found people just kind of like small talking it or just not trying to avoid it with you, or are people just jumping in?
You know, it's been wild because there's so many people going through the same thing right now.
Yeah.
I mean, there just really are. And it's crazy. Like yesterday, the show that we played last night in Louisiana, like it was like everybody who came to this meet and greet before the show, you know, because it's supposed to be this question answer time. And nobody's asking any questions, right? They're just all sitting there.
Yeah.
And there's this heavy thing. And Mike Donaghy is we're on tour together right now. And we're sitting, and as we start asking them questions, and we just uncover that basically every person there was going through this right now.
Right.
They had lost someone really close to them in this like really recent season, man. And they were coming out because I think they knew, you know, what we've been going through and just kind of wanted to be in it together, you know? And I think that does help, you know, that we're not alone in it, you know? That's one of the things when you go through something awful, that the devil just tries to like convince you that you're just by yourself, that nobody can understand, that you're all alone. And man, we're not alone. We're the family of God. And so that's what happened last night. We didn't pretend like it didn't hurt. You know what I mean? Because there's this like over spiritualizing thing that can happen, you know, where you're like just pretending, you know, but because it hurts. And the Bible doesn't say we don't grieve. It just says we grieve. We don't grieve like people without hope. And so I'm learning something right now that, you know, I felt like so long. I learned this with my mom and dad. I felt like that sorrow and joy were like mutually exclusive some way. You know what I mean? And so it's not that way. Like it hurts so bad every day right now when I look over on the part of the stage where Jay would be, and he's not there.
Yeah.
But man, when I see what God does every night and I connect with the songs that we're singing that are so full of hope, man, I experience hope. And, you know, Jesus said this, blessed are those who mourn because they will be comforted, you know? And I think you got to open yourself up to being comforted.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, that's very true. Well, you know, talking about like your brother and not wanting to, you know, hurt somebody more, like I would love for you to tell me something great about Jay that just brings joy to you when you think about him.
Man, it's his laugh, man. Man, I'm going to lose it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for that, but I just like, yeah.
No, I know,
dude.
I know. No, it's like, bro, the other night. So what we've been doing is we have a podcast where there was like a moment at the end of the podcast where Jay prayed over the audience, over the listeners, right? And so we took that audio from that and actually have him pray over the whole night now, you know, at the end of the night. And there's this one little moment where as he's praying, he has this like little chuckle, dude. And he just kind of does. And it just reminds me of a million different great moments, you know, of when we would just laugh, you know, and we would have joy, man. And when we would just experience life. And dude, I just had the privilege of the last 23 years of sharing just some of the most beautiful times of ministry and all kinds of experiences all over the world with my brother, who's also my best friend, man, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, not everybody can say that, man. So in as much as I'm hurting, man, I also have a heart that is like full of gratitude, bro, you know, for the legacy of Jay. Cause I mean, dude, when we were driving to his service, I felt like I can't do it. I can't make it. I can't, you know, I don't know if we can go sing again. How can you sing again after this happens? Like all these things, you know? And then all these messages started coming in, these stories about how God had used him. And it was like, well, man, in light of all of this, I mean, it was thousands of stories, man. We're like, how could we not keep doing this?
You
know?
mentioned,
so even when it hurts, we keep going. You know?
Yeah, you mentioned sing again. Like, how do you do that? I'm real curious because people find comfort in the songs you write and the songs other Christian artists write, and they cling to those. I'm curious, in going through this, has there been anybody else's music that you find yourself it's just in my head? It's like an earworm, and you're just comforted by it.
Oh yeah, totally, man. It's like Leland, man. That guy's voice, he sings like an angel, you know?
And I just wanna be where you are.
Dude, it is, you know, I was walking the room yesterday. Jay would pray over every seat in the room. And so that's one of the ways I kind of feel close to him is like before the show, I just walk through the room and just kind of put my hands on every chair and just ask Jesus to just sit there.
Wow.
And man, I'm listening to Leland the whole time, just wrecked and just, I just want to be where you are. And I'm like, dude, yeah. And I'm not singing to Jay, I'm singing to Jesus,
Right.
And it's like we're in Corey Asbury. Oh my gosh, dude. One of the songs that Jay had really ministered to Jay's family and him in the last months, man, was the song called Sparrows by Corey Asbury.
Oh, that's a great song.
Cause you take good care of me.
And dude, so for Jay's service, like Corey made like a little video of him doing like this acoustic version of Sparrows. And it was so special. That's another one that I turn to, man.
That's really cool.
You take good care of me. Yeah, it's good, man. Yeah, there's so many great ones, especially it's something worship though, usually. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you were talking about like Jay and the testament to his life is that he loved other people and he cared for people and he had a joy to him. I want to share something with you. I had Micah Tyler on the other day and we were talking and I didn't know that he had been out with you and stuff like that, but I want to share this take from Micah about you and your brother.
I was out with Big Daddy Weave. Wow. I was on that tour as like our whole world was falling apart. At the same time of me telling everyone there's never been a moment that God's not loved and my moments are hurting. And man, those guys, I cannot even begin to tell you. Jay Weaver is a guy who like was messaging me about my brother for years after that tour. And those guys just cared about my heart and cared about my family and did everything they could. So that was a big deal for me.
Wow, man.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
That's who he is, man. And it's always it's who he always was, man. And it's just natural. It's not a put on thing. It's not contrived. It just kind of flowed from him. And that's been our prayer is like, God, how do we carry that? How do we carry that? We can't be Jay, you know what I mean? But Lord, will you do? It was like at his service, the whole thing. All these stories that came out, and there was it was some hilarious stories too, man. I've never heard the word like farting used so much in like, I was like, I feel offended that I just said that on your show right now, actually. But it was like, it was like, he just thought that was the funniest thing. And there are all these stories that were about that. And it was, but then the next one was about something like that. It was about forgiving somebody. And one of the things that he had shared was like, well, man, you forgive them and then you give more is what he said.
That's cool.
And I was like, man. And so we left that time like just challenged. We were like, God, the stuff that we see in his life from you, how do we embrace that? How do you do that in us? How do we carry on his memory, by letting you do your thing in us,
Well, let me ask you this, man, because the one thing we're so different, but the one thing we have in common is we all are eventually going to lose somebody that we love.
That's right.
It's a fact of life. It's a part of living in this broken world, and God doesn't always heal, and at least the way we think of healing. And so is there anything that you can offer to somebody else who's walking in this territory right now? It's fresh for you and it's still painful, and I get that. But is there any kind of advice or hope you could give to somebody who's here and they're like, I don't know what to do, and how can God be good,
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. Just breathe and just be absolutely honest with him. He already knows. It's okay to be like, God, I'm so mad right now. I'm so upset. I'm so hurt. I'm so broke. God's does not reciprocate the mad, Mm-hmm. He can take it though. I'll tell you though, it doesn't get you very far, but then just be open to him. Just say, God, I need you to, and start where you can. You don't have to have it all together. Just God, help me want to, you know what I mean? That whatever, and then just open yourself to him and just say, God, I need you. I need a comforter. I need a healer. I need a restorer. And it's just as it turns out, he's all of those things. But I'll tell you, he is near to the brokenhearted.